Hello, I'm Rachael Smiley, the 2026 TMA Global Chair and a restructuring lawyer at FBFK Law based in Dallas, Texas. And I'm so pleased to be joined by Winston, a partner with CR3 Partners based in Los Angeles, California. Welcome to the Distressed Investing Conference, Winston.
Well, thanks for having me.
So let's talk about what you're seeing recently in the space. What changes have you been observing either with how the courts are approaching cases you're involved in, or maybe how the clients themselves are trying to solve problems? Anything that you think is timely or topical?
Well, there's a lot of macro issues that are out there. And if you think about, it's over the last year, there's been a lot of turbulence in the markets, right? Between the tariffs and our exposure to other countries, which have really dramatically impacted a lot of the clients that we have. But on the flip side of it, though, I think the overarching theme always is what we see in the clients that are having issues is the management. The question really becomes is how do you get the management team to be a better and more effective team? Because even in a macro situation, generally speaking, most of the clients that we have, there are other people within that industry that are still doing okay. They may not be going great because of those situations, but they're still going to be doing okay. Our clients are generally the ones that have a tougher management. The management team isn't as great.
So management issues are obviously industry agnostic, but are there particular recurring issues you see amongst management over and over again, regardless of the industry, regardless of the client?
Yeah, and part of it is their ability to make decisions. And it's interesting when you take a look at some of the ones, the family-owned businesses that we see that have been multi-generational, and they have a hard time sometimes saying, hey, what are the decisions I would need to make? How do I improve the company? So a lot of times when we go in there, we can do a lot of the process improvement work and generate a significant amount of profitability to the company and increase it. There's, just recently we've taken a company that's doing like a negative 10 in EBITDA, and we took it up to about 20. And that's just based upon changing the operations they had, doing some SKU rationalization, doing some customer rationalization. But then all of a sudden you have a company that works now. When you have a $300 million company now that's generating 20 of EBITDA, that's actually a pretty efficient company. And when we that's some of the things we take a look at, and it also depends on when we get in there. So what we're trying to do is we try to get there early enough that we could effectuate some change versus having to basically force it into a sale or force it into some type of a transaction.
Obviously, that's very results-oriented, and I think all of us who are here at this conference are obviously results-oriented in what we can do for clients. What's something that you would like other TMA members to know about the unique aspects of what you bring to an engagement?
Well, I think that's when we take a look at it, it's really how do you get the client to do what they should be doing? And that's one of the things we were talking about before. The management team inherently should figure out how to get them to a certain place. It's interesting when you take a look at a 13-week cash flow, right? When you first start out, you think that's the hot ticket, to do a 13-week. But what we realize is it's actually a tool. So what we do a lot of times is we take that 13-week cash flow, we show it to the client and say, hey, take a look at it. This is where your company's heading. And when they first take a look at it, they don't believe it. But after 4 or 5 hours and you're going through it, it says, hey, we got this from all you, because we don't create this stuff, right? We just say, hey, this is what your people are telling us.
I think that's a great point about the amount of time you have to invest with a client to earn their trust and have them understand the utility of your tools. But I think that's true also of professional development and how we build trust with our colleagues in TMA so that they'll trust us with their matters. So I'm wondering, is it your experience that you have built relationships through TMA and that it's taken time to build those relationships?
When I first started off, you don't know anyone. When your attorneys don't know you and your accounting people don't know you and all these other professionals that are around, it's much harder to do a project because there's not the built-in trust. With TMA, one of the things I've found is you get to know a lot of the people that are here, and when you become friends with them and you know them and you've been seeing them for all these years, at least they know that you're at least competent because they've been around for long enough, right?
Yeah, and I find that's 100% true. And at the end of the day, it saves our clients money because when we already know each other, there's not that learning curve and that trust curve. We can just get to work immediately, knowing that we can trust what these other professionals are telling us and all work together more cohesively, more quickly, which of course saves time and money. So value is obviously the name of the game, value for our clients, value for ourselves. When you think about the value of a TMA relationship, how would you describe that? What kind of value do you get out of your involvement and investment in TMA?
Well, I was actually on the Southern California board for a while, and because of that, it's interesting when you're on those boards, you get to know the board members fairly well. And I think that's really useful because, especially if you're in the region that you're in, or if you're practicing within a certain region, you get to know all the guys there. And to your point, when you get to know them, it's a lot easier to work with them. And plus that, you still get, I get referrals from guys too, it's on the board that that I've known. And that's one of the things when I take a look at it, what we're trying to do is to get our next gen to do the same thing. Because I take a look at a lot of those relationships that were built, the people that I've worked with now, I've known for 20 years. A lot of them were on the TMA board with me, when I first started off on this. So I think to me that's a very important relationship to build on, and to go out and to get our next gen to be going out and figuring out, hey, how do we start networking? How do we start meeting people?
I'm so glad you brought up the next gen angles. What would be your advice to a young person who says to you, look, I see that it's a great thing to do, but I just don't have the time to be out there doing business networking?
When I was younger, that same thing popped up. And what I realized is that, you got to figure out how you're going to be able to make some time, because if you don't do that now and start establishing some of those relationships, if you think about what happens in the next, your next 20 years of your career, it's going to be tougher and tougher to make relationships, when you don't have a base and people that allow you to go and talk to other people. When you establish those relationships, careers are made on that kind of thing.
Winston, it's been a great pleasure to talk to you today at the Distressed Investing Conference. I hope you have a wonderful conference and look forward to seeing you at future TMA events.
Okay, thank you.